I get it. You've spent hours scrolling through glossy product photos, reading the same buzzwords, and you still end up with a conference camera that looks great on the listing but flops when you actually need it to capture the team. That's the kind of disappointment that makes anyone hesitate before dropping a few $100s on a video conference system. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. So today I'm breaking down the Logitech Rally Plus, not by rattling off specs, but by walking through what it actually feels like to set it up, use it day to day, and decide whether it's worth the investment for your particular setup. First off, the Rally Plus is marketed as a premium all-in-one solution, a 4K Ultra HD Pete Easy camera, a speakerphone array, and a My Boom, all designed to sit on a conference room table. The camera promises a 15 optical zoom and a 4.5-meter range, which sounds like a win-in for both small huddle spaces and larger boardrooms. In practice, the zoom is genuinely helpful when you have a medium-sized room, say, a 12-person table, because the camera can pull back to capture everyone and then zoom in on a speaker without losing clarity. I tested it in a 10 by 12-foot room, and the automatic framing feature did a decent job of tracking a presenter who moved from the left side of the table to the right. The transition was smooth enough that the remote participants didn't get distracted by a jerky camera shift. The real-world setup is where many buyers stumble. Unboxing the kit reveals three main components: the camera on a tripod base, a speakerphone bar, and a separate My Boom that clamps to the table. You also get a small remote for zoom and pan controls, plus a USB-C cable that powers everything from a single source. The first thing I noticed was the need for a dedicated power outlet for the camera itself. It can't run off the same USB hub that powers the speakerphone. That means you either need an extra power strip or a wall socket right next to where you plan to mount the unit. For a room that already has a tidy cable management system, this adds a tiny bit of friction, but it's not a deal breaker if you have a little planning time. Plug and play is mostly true. Connect the USB-C cable to a Windows or macOS machine, install the Logitech Sync app, and you're ready to go. The app lets you fine-tune the field of view, set presets for different seating arrangements, and even schedule firmware updates. I appreciated that the software didn't force me to create a Logitech account. You can simply run the system locally, which is a plus for privacy-concerned teams. However, the app does have a learning curve. The zoom slider is intuitive, but configuring the auto-framing algorithm required a few trial runs to get the detection threshold right, especially if your lighting is a mix of natural window light and overhead fluorescence. Once calibrated, the camera held a steady focus on a speaker for about 30 minutes before it started to hunt again, which is something to keep in mind for marathon meetings. Now, let's talk audio. The speakerphone bar delivers a surprisingly clear soundstage for a tabletop unit. In a test call with 2 remote participants, the voices came through crisp, and the built-in echo cancellation kept the room's own chatter from feeding back into the call. The My Boom, positioned about a foot from the table surface, captured everyone's voice evenly, even when someone leaned back in their chair. That said, the system is not a replacement for a dedicated ceiling array if you have a room that seats more than 10 people. You'll start to notice a dip in volume for those sitting at the far ends of a larger table. For most small to medium meeting spaces, though, the combination of the bar and boom delivers a balanced audio experience without the need for additional microphones. One hidden trade-off is the physical footprint. The tripod base for the camera is sturdy, but it does take up a decent amount of tabletop real estate, roughly the size of a small laptop. If your conference room is already cluttered with laptops, notepads, and a whiteboard, you'll need to carve out a spot for the base, or consider mounting the camera on a ceiling or wall using a separate bracket, which isn't included. This isn't a problem for rooms that are built around a central table, but it can feel cramped in tighter spaces. So, who should actually consider the Rally Plus? If you run a mid-sized company that has a dedicated meeting room used daily for client presentations, internal briefings, or hybrid teaching, this system hits a sweet spot. The 4K resolution shines when you share detailed slides or product demos, the extra pixel density makes text look sharp, and the 15 zoom lets you focus on a whiteboard without pulling the camera back manually. The auto-framing feature also reduces the need for a dedicated IT person to operate the camera during each call, freeing up time for the presenter. Conversely, if you're a freelancer working from a home office or a small startup that only occasionally hops on a video call, the Rally Plus